Hey everybody, Michael the Librarian of Magic, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. Back here on October the 25th with another drawing of a Disney villain as we head into the home stretch, the end of the project here. The same disclaimers about my drawings as always apply. If you would like to hear those, there is a link at the end of this video to a video that contains the disclaimer as well as to my other content. So with that out of the way, I will jump straight into the Disney villain of the day. Today's drawing is Prince John from 1973's Robin Hood. I'm really happy with how this drawing turned out. I just used a production still, animation still as reference, and I'm happy with my ability to recreate it. And I love, love, love this villain. He is one of my absolute favorites. One of the best ways to describe Prince John, in my opinion, is puerile. He's just got this childishness to him that's actually kind of rare among Disney villains. He's just in this state of arrested development. It's hinted at that he has this weird relationship with his mother that they create, almost Oedipal. He's always sucking on his thumb and throwing temper tantrums. He's a coward and a crybaby. And that just makes him hilarious. I love how they even, like, the crown doesn't quite fit on his head, so it kind of slumps down around the ears. That's one of my favorite features of the character and of this drawing. And that he's just, they create him as if he's, he's in this position of power, but he's way too big for his britches. And I think that's a funny combination when you have somebody who is childish and incompetent and goes off the handle with temper tantrums, and then you put that person in a position of power. You can have disastrous results and tragic results, that, as we've seen in some interpretations of Robin Hood and other stories, but you can also have hilarious results, which is what this movie features. Prince John is not too dastardly. I mean, he's like you said, he throws his tantrums and he wants Robin Hood out of the way and he wants to be able to keep collecting his taxes and, all the typical stuff. Most people in the Western world are pretty familiar with the legend of Robin Hood. It's been done in a million different incarnations, and most of them stick to the same general plot points. King Richard is away fighting the Crusades, so his little brother Prince John is sitting on the throne in his stead and decides to increase all of the taxes. And, all of the peasants are under duress and don't have any money, and Robin Hood and his band of merry men take to robbing the king and robbing the rich so they can give money back to the poor. That's the general gist of it. Although, in real life, there's pretty substantial evidence. So, if you were unaware, even though Robin Hood is legendary, debatably legendary, Prince John and King Richard were real people. Their mother was Eleanor of Aquitaine. And according to historical record, Prince John was actually a pretty competent ruler when he ruled. King John I, Plantagenet, was actually a pretty competent ruler, and the taxes that he's usually hated for, that they talk about in the stories, were taxes that were raised because his brother Richard was fighting in the Crusades, and it costed a bunch of money. He had his own shortcomings historically. It's a very interesting thing to read about if you're interested in the history of the British monarchy and the Plantagenets and the Crusading era. It's very interesting, but the real King John was not too much like various incarnations of John in fiction. One of the interesting things about the Disney take on the story that is pretty unique to Disney, I think, is that Prince John is really the main antagonist of the story. He's the main villain, as opposed as a foil to Robin Hood, as opposed to the Sheriff of Nottingham. In most other incarnations, Prince John is sort of a side character that the sheriff is doing his bidding, but Robin Hood has to contend with the Sheriff of Nottingham as often as not. In the Disney version, the Sheriff of Nottingham is there, he features, but he's sort of a lackey. He goes around and collects the taxes. He's sort of a bumbling guard at times. He's just sort of a security henchman. But it's Prince John who really is the one that's after Robin Hood and gets in Robin Hood's way, and that is fairly unique to the Disney take, in my opinion. Um, there was a deleted alternate ending to the story in which John was a little bit darker in that ending, which is probably why they decided to axe it. Um, if you've seen the movie, it's not a spoiler really at this point from a movie from 1973 to tell you that Robin Hood gets wounded in the end of the movie with an arrow shot, and it really is a scene where they're wanting you to believe that Robin Hood is dead or dying. So he gets wounded, and Little John takes him to a church to have Maid Marian at his side, so that he can die in the glory of the church and be with Maid Marian, which a version of sort of happens in the movie. In the alternate ending, they go to the church with Maid Marian, and Prince John and Sir Hiss enter the church to everyone's surprise, and John is brandishing a dagger, and he's there to finish off Robin Hood, to finish off the job. And then before he can, King Richard shows up to surprise everyone, and to the chagrin of John, and finds out about how badly John has been ruling everybody, and then, punishes him summarily. And decides he won't banish him from England because it would be so upsetting to their mother, but that he will find a fitting punishment for John. In the actual finished product of the movie, John and Sir Hiss and the sheriff get sentenced to breaking rocks in the rock quarry for, I guess, forever. I don't know. But it's the scenes with he's just a really funny villain, and it creates a great mood to the movie, great chemistry. I love the design. I love the look that he's a lion. My favorite scene in the movie is the scene where Robin Hood and Little John disguise themselves as fortune tellers, and they waylay Prince John's royal caravan under the guise of telling his fortune, and then they get aboard his carriage and put on a little show for him, and then during the show they're stealing all of his jewelry. They're stealing the jewels out of the rings on his fingers and all that stuff, and they make off with a bunch of treasures. But it's a really funny scene. Sir Hiss sees what's happening but can't convince Prince John that he's being robbed until after the fact. And Robin Hood and Little John are really funny in their disguises, and just the whole that dynamic of that scene is what I love most about this movie, which is the silliness of Robin Hood and John, and how they keep trying to get over on goofy Prince John, the childish Prince John. Prince John is highly quotable in the movie. He has a lot of great quotes. Two of my favorites are, "I sentence you to sudden, instant, and even immediate death." He has a weird kind of voice like that. And then also, "Double the taxes, triple the taxes, squeeze every last drop out of those insolent, musical peasants." He's just very funny. There's a bunch of other lines like that too, where he sort of remembers his place when he's going off the handle, and then tries to change what he's saying, but it's just ridiculous. Prince John is expertly voiced in the movie by Peter Ustinov, who is a legendary actor of stage and screen. He directed operas. He won BAFTAs, Academy Awards. He won a Grammy. He won two Academy Awards, actually, for supporting actor for Topkapi and Spartacus. He played Hercule Poirot in Agatha Christie adaptations a half dozen times. He was a polyglot, so he was fluent in English, French, Spanish, German, Russian, and Italian, all. And as a result, he often was able to do the foreign language dubs of many of his roles. He did, for the most part, the French dubbing of most, if not all, of his Poirot roles. For Prince John here, actually, he did the German. The German version of the movie is actually Peter Ustinov as well, because he was able to fluently speak so many languages. So he was pretty incredible that way. And I love the voicing choice that he uses for Prince John. It's one of the things that makes it for me. Somehow he just nailed the choice of what would sound like an infantile Arrested Development voice for Prince John, and it's just excellent. So I'm really, really happy with this drawing. I'm pleased with how it turned out. It looked the way that I wanted it to, especially the ears and the crown. That's what I was hoping for out of this, and really glad I have it because I really like this villain and I really enjoy Robin Hood. So thanks as always for watching these. I'm glad that you stuck with me so far. We're getting really close to the end, so hang in there with me all the way to Halloween. Is Prince John one of your favorite villains, or Robin Hood maybe is one of your favorite movies? It's definitely one of mine for a whole bunch of reasons, and Prince John is definitely one of those reasons. So I hope you were informed by this. I hope it enhanced your day in some way, that there was a little bit of magic there, thinking about Robin Hood or learning something new, or hopefully it maybe encouraged you to go deeper to learn more about the actual history of the British Crown, the Plantagenets, and stuff like that. Maybe that's something you're interested in. You want to go off in that direction. So I hope that this was something that was entertaining and informative for you, and I really enjoyed making it. Join me tomorrow when I have another one of these, and we're getting close to the end. So thanks for sticking with me, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.